Hey, welcome to Black Mountain Bags, Embroidery Edition. Today I'm going to stitch Van Gogh Designs. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So you need to gather your supplies. You'll need some vinyl. I'm using black vinyl because these are a take on neon signs. I have all of my brightest threads ready to go. I have 2 types of scissors for cutting. I have some tape and my hole punch. You'll also need some hardware such as eyelets and either ball and chain, split ring, or wire key ring. Okay, so I have my design on my machine. I'm using the NQ 1600. I'm using my 4x4 hoop with cutaway stabilizer. I have thread already ready to go. The first step is your placement stitch. You can do your placement stitch in any color you like. I tend to figure out what color step 2 is going to be, and then I make that step 1 color as well. So I know step 2 is going to be 5 o'clock and this outline. So I'm going to start with green because I don't want to change my thread an extra time. All right, so let's begin. Step 1, placement. Okay, so take your first piece of vinyl. Make sure that your vinyl will cover all of these stitches from side to side, top to bottom, by at least a ½ inch. Lay your vinyl over top, and you can always peek and shift as needed. I have at least a ½ inch here and at least a ½ inch there. I'll check the top and I am good. Bottom, I'm good. So what you want to do next is tape your vinyl down. You don't want your vinyl shifting or puckering while it's stitching a design. So use your tape. Try to keep your tape out of the stitch area. You don't want your tape to get caught underneath stitches. Now I could take this off my machine to tape it, but I'm good. Okay, so I have all 4 sides taped. I know I have plenty of area in the middle for my design, and then we can begin. This is step 2. Step 2 is 5 o'clock and part of the outline. Okay, I was going to stop the machine because I noticed that the one tail was getting caught, but I'm having trouble with my machine a little bit lately, so that was all. Okay, anyway, so let's clip any tails that are long, and if your machine does not cut jumps, now is a good time to cut the jumps in between. I prefer to cut my jumps in between stitches just because I don't want to put another color over top of a tail or a jump. Okay, step 3 is the glass. So I've picked a bright pink for that one. Okay, our next stitch, which will be stitch step 4, is going to be the stem of the palm tree. Okay, step 5 is the top of the palm tree and the lime. So I'm going to repeat my bright green. Okay, we're ready for stitch step 6, and that is going to be the sun. So I've picked out a nice yellow. The first time I made this design, I thought it was a coconut, and I made it brown. Isn't that crazy? Alina laughed a lot. And she hasn't really let me live it down yet, but that's okay. I still love her. Here's the sun, stitch step 6. So if you're wondering and you're seeing my thread shoot up, I'm unthreading my machine. You just can't see it, so I am not harming my machine in any way, shape, or form. Okay, next is the water, stitch step 7. Okay, so my machine's been acting up, but by some little miracle, the tails have been very short this time. If your machine does not cut jump stitches when you have them, I would recommend that you trim as you go along. It's so much easier to trim jumps and tails as you go along, as opposed to letting them get caught under other colors. Sometimes they will get caught under their own color, but it's so much easier to have to pull them out from one color than it would be to pull them out from under other colors that stitch on top of it. Okay, next, stitch step 8 will be the words, and I have a really cool orange. This thread, I call it my mac and cheese thread. I think it looks like mac and cheese powder. So I am going to stop my machine and trim some tails as we go along on these words. It's just so much easier to trim as I go along. You don't have to. You can trim at the end if you prefer. Stitch step 8. Okay, so yes, it's my thread cutter that's been misbehaving. And on video take number 2, I had to take my machine apart. So this is actually my 3rd take. Oy. Okay, so that's it. That's the main design. I would recommend that you remove it from your machine. Don't unhoop it though. Just take the hoop off the machine with your design still hooped and trim any jumps or tails that you may have. And you can also go ahead and remove all the tape. But don't get rid of your tape, save it, and you can use it on the back side. Okay, there we go. I do believe I've gotten all of my tails and jumps. Even though my machine cuts jumps, oh, no, I see some that I missed. Even though my machine cuts jumps, there is a jump that is too close, so it does not cut it. So I have to trim that one and that one. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Now I've gotten them all. And I've taken my tape off. And I'm going to use it on the back side as long as it's sticky enough. So I'm going to turn my hoop over. My design is still here. I'm going to take my second piece of black marine vinyl and I'm going to lay it over top, and I want to make sure that my vinyl covers all edges by at least a ½ inch. Now mine on the back is a little bit smaller because I cut it ahead of time. Sometimes I take a risk. So here we go. So I'm going to tape this down. Try to keep this out of the stitch area once again. If it's in the stitch area, you will be able to remove it easier than if it were on the front of a design, but just do the best you can to keep it out. So just the very edge of your vinyl. You just need to keep it in place. I'm ready to put it back on the machine. I have my vinyl taped on the back, and I just threaded my machine with some black thread. When I do the final outline stitch on a key fob, I tend to go with a color that matches my vinyl. I like the outline to be hidden so that the design stands out, but you can certainly do another accent color. It's totally up to you. Okay, so here we go. This is how I finish off a key fob. If you don't know the bobbin thread up trick, this is what we're going to do. I don't want a bird nest on the back of my key fob. I want it to be nice and smooth. So take your top thread and pull it out. Use your needle button, the needle down button, the needle up button, same button. Needle down, needle up, and there. My bobbin thread popped up through. Use the edge of my scissors and pull your bobbin thread out. Hold both threads. Don't pull them, just hold them. And begin stitching. I'm going to stitch 3 or 4, maybe 5 stitches. I will stop my machine, clip this tail, and then let it continue. Okay, stop it. I'm just going to clip, and then I'll let it finish. And that's it. We're finished. So take your hoop off your machine. Unhoop your item. And then cut it out. Let's check the back side. Ooh, I just kissed the tape just a little bit right there. All right. See how nice that is? So I just trim this off. And no bird nesting. There's the front again. Trim any remaining tails. I look at it at all different angles. I know I have one up here as well. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I will use my pair of Kai scissors. I like these scissors, not the tips, but I love how sharp they are on the inside. So let's go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so my best advice for cutting out is to have a nice sharp pair of scissors and hold your scissors vertical. Don't slant them in or out. If you do, you're going to run into issues. If you slant them out, you're going to see more of the bottom vinyl, and then you'll see the back of the bottom vinyl. If you slant them in, you risk clipping one of these, and trust me, I've done that so many times. So you have to be really careful and just take your time. Move the piece, not your scissors. I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing this. And I always cut on the interior of the scissors. I don't cut with the very tips. And I don't like it when I have all this excess. So sometimes I'll go and I'll trim and get that off. It's cumbersome to have all of that hanging around. But if I am cutting and I want this gone, what I will do is I will back up and I will cut and leave that with a slit, because I want to be able to put my scissors back in there and keep going. If I were to just cut it off like this, it's hard to get back in here and get on the same even circular cutting path that I was on. It's possible, but it's easier if you come off of it and then leave that slit there. Okay, so I'm turning my item. And if there are spots that are small, I just give a little jig-jag in and keep going. Try to be as even as you can as you go around. Mine aren't perfect. Yeah, see, I got a little close there. good. But notice I'm using the depth of my scissors and not the tips. I'm not cutting like this. And then when you get to the end, just try to round it as best you can. There you go. And there's that. So I have a tool, which is a leather hole punch that I use to make my holes for my eyelets. So I'm going to put a hole here. I use the biggest hole punch, and I can go ahead and just give a little squeeze and just mark it and see if I like that. If I don't, I can move it left or right or up and down, but I liked that. Just give it a quick squeeze, and now I have my hole punched. And then I will pick out an eyelet and set it, and then choose my hardware, and I'm good. So once again, this is a wire key ring. I have a black key ring and the ball and chain. My favorite on eyelets are the ball and chains. And here's another little trick, something you can do. Once you have the ball and chain set onto wherever you want, you can give it a little squeeze and then it won't come off. Okay, sometimes these are a little weak and you don't want to lose your favorite keychain. So just take a little set of pliers and just squeeze on either end. There you go. That's the eyelet. Snap tab is next. Thanks for watching.